plan production container that Jeremy just set up, along with the boundary file that we just created. So would have had this up, but needed to do that boundary file first. So we're going to be doing a roadway plan. Other specialty groups will be able to be set up very similar to this. The only difference would be is there's going to be that added design file for that specialty group. For instance, if it's a hydraulic sheet file, that hydraulic model is going to need to be attached directly to this design model, along with the other containers. Going to Jeremy's point, it needs to be on top because it is going to be the more prevalent design model that we want to see. So, but for this one, this is a roadway, so the one on top is going to be our roadway corridor design file that Jeremy just explained. The other benefit of the sheet boundary file is you can utilize that for key maps. So you create another key map reference using that sheet boundary file. So if anything does get shifted, your key map is dynamic as well. So that's another perk. Okay, so now what I've already have set up in this file here, as you can see, we just have the one design file. And so before I start creating any of my sheets, any labels, anything like that, I want to make sure that I have these 4 files already set. So as Jeremy said, you want to go through the process of the overrides, the level display, everything, as at least at whatever point of the project you are at, just get it to the level that you can be comfortable with, so you're not, modifying too many things later on. So once that's set, same thing with your container for your geometry. That only has our geometry display. There's no annotation yet. We're going to do that here in a second. And then our boundary plan that we just created, and then the container design. So our feature lines from our proposed roadway. So before we go any further, this is where we would want to start to display our annotation for our sheets for Ute Avenue. So you come up to drawing production, come up to this element annotation. And then we turn this on. The reason why I'm displaying annotation again in here instead of turning it on from the reference is so that now I can manipulate this, move this wherever, if it's, in a way of one of my callouts, and then it's only going to affect my roadway plans. It's not going to affect any other specialty groups. It's just going to be located just here. So once that's set, we're ready to create our sheets. So you can see our viewports that are already located in here. And if you hover over them, you can see the name boundary information, so that data is being driven to it. So now that we're ready to create sheets, we come up to our name boundary tool, or excuse me, we open up our name boundary manager here with the little arrow. So we come over here, we want to just select this top one because we want to select all sheets from here. If you only wanted to create one sheet from that group, you could, and you'd have only one selected. However, I do want to do all 3. But before I do anything, I want to make sure these 2 icons right here are selected. And it's very important that these 2 are selected before you go forward. If you don't have these selected, one, some settings can just be defaultly presented. You won't have a chance to select annotation groups or scales or anything like that. So you really don't get any control. It's just going to kind of do it willy-nilly for you. So you come here, you have these 2 selected, which is just a dialog that pops up. And then this one is just to annotate the drawing models. So once you have that selected, you create drawing here. And before you go any further, there is a couple things that you want to make sure are set. So this right here for your annotation scale should be set to the 1=50 that you had selected when you're creating your name boundaries. However, sometimes it doesn't hold. So you'll need to make sure to come in here and make sure it's at the scale that you'd like. The annotation group, which we're not going to go over in this training today, but this is, you can control this later. It populates your north arrows, bar scales, match lines, and whatever else you kind of want to just defaultly put on every sheet. I'm not going to click this drop down because you'll get lost in the drop down. So the sheet model, this will, main thing, you just want to make sure the sheet model is set at full size 1:1. This is basically like a civil product. It's going to be like your paper space. Do not select anything for your file names. This creates files that are separate from this. It's not in our best workflow for that. So yep, once you have this set, you know your annotation group set, you can hit OK. You'll notice a little progress bar on the bottom right. And then it will create a few things. So it'll create your drawings, which if you look on this left side here, you can see different types. So we'll have our design model, which is, houses all of our containers, all of our references. And then it'll create these drawings and then sheets. So two things. The sheets is where we print from everything. But it also brings in this default cell. So going back to what Jeremy was saying, we want to end up deleting this cell and attaching a border reference. It gives us more control later on in the project if we do change anything to the border. Yeah, it's just better for manipulation. So we'll go ahead and delete that. Let me undo that real quick. So there's actually two things to delete in here. So you have to delete the cell, and then there's another title block cell under here. So just make sure both of those are deleted. And then you'll notice that it just has just the drawing model that was produced attached. So we'll just want to attach the border now, which I'll kind of reverse real quick. And this is something we're still trying to figure out, like where best to house it. But for right now, we're housing all of our borders under project standards, where before you probably house it under a general folder or maybe even under roadway. But right now we're housing under sheet borders. So grab that. Just bring this in 1:1. Just bring that over. All right, and so in our paper space, we already have spots that we can snap to. So we're just going to snap to the outer black border. So now let me turn on my level overrides and line weights. Okay, so next step that we'd want to do is utilize some of these data fields that we've populated in our border. And these are tied to information that's within this file. So I'll show you in a second. So what the first thing you want to do is select everything here, and then use this little snap point to bring it over into your border. We'll copy it. All right, so each one of these data fields is tied to something in this file. So if we open up our models, we just select this one, and we go to properties for it, the one that we're currently in. So a few things. So we want to change the sheet number. So over here, you can change your sheet number to 3. This will be sheet number 2. And this will be sheet number 1. Okay, so we're sheet number 2 right now. If you're under the properties for that model, for the sheet, if you come over to sequence number, this is going to be your total number. So these two numbers are then automatically going to be updated down here in your, oh, excuse me, this is in the wrong one. Okay, so this is the one I already added my border to. I want to change my sequence number in this one to 3. And then it'll automatically populate. So it's 3 of 3. This sheet subset, this is controlled through your file properties. So the designer and sheet subset are controlled through manager. So we'll put jcall for this one. And then roadway, we'll just change that just so you can see it change, RDY. If it doesn't automatically change in here, you'll have to jump into a different model and come back. But then it automatically updates. So just a way to control if you have a ton of files or a ton of sheets in one file. It's just one way to globally change everything. The last two fields are going to be your middle and your bottom line in your title block here. Those are tied to the name and the description. So the name also, it all has to be unique. So this, we would probably, you might want to shorten it to, I-70Z, U Avenue, just more formulated to for printing, right? So something you can play with for this one. The description, this is something that we'd want to be for, roadway plans. So that'd be on every single one. Right. So just a few different ways to manipulate your title block where you're not, having to manually input everything all the time. It's just, initially, yes, you're gonna have to type everything in, but then once it's set up, it's good to go. And yeah, anytime you change anything in here, it's just going to be automatically dynamic down there. So yeah, so that's pretty much how you set these sheets up. I think we can stop recording and take questions.